Welcome to the Rum Revival. My name's Arminder, and today I'm highlighting a number of newly released and newly announced rums from the last month. Now, these aren't necessarily available everywhere in the US right now. Some of these rums have only just come out or have just been announced, so it might take a few weeks before they're available throughout the country. But definitely keep an eye out for them. First up, we have a single cast release from independent bottler Holmes. This is their Guyana Albion 2014 release, which is actually a Florida Rum Society barrel pick. Now, what makes this noteworthy is that it features a rare mark or distillate coming out from Demerara Distillers, the AW or Albion mark. Now, this mark was first produced at the now defunct Albion Estate Distillery. This version, made at the Diamond Distillery, is made on the iconic Port Morant double wooden pot still. Now, the Port Morant still is known for producing the more well-known PM mark, and the Albion mark off the same still has a lighter, maybe more fruitier profile. Now, in terms of aging, the rum was aged 8 years in the UK and then 1 year in New York, and it's bottled at 60% ABV and priced at around $100. Now, apparently only 2 barrels of this mark made it to the US through Holmes. The first barrel was made available a few months back to the Austin Rum Society, and now this single barrel is only available through the Florida Rum Society store page on Curiata.com. I'll make sure to include a link in the description below in case you're actually interested in buying the bottle. Now, it has been out for about 3 to 4 weeks, and since it is only a single cask, there probably aren't too many bottles left, so if you are interested, you should kind of jump on it now. Next up is the newest release from Hamilton. It's the Breezeway blend. Now, it's named after and made for the Spike's Breezeway Cocktail Hour channel on YouTube. Now, I'm not entirely sure how much overlap there is between viewers of this channel and his, but I've got to imagine there's at least some. But if you're not familiar, Spike has guests come over to his home bar, and they usually make a classic tiki drink and shoot the breeze in his Breezeway. Now, the rum itself is a blend of 2 Hamilton rums. The White Stash, which is a blend of light rums from Trinidad, Guyana, and the Dominican Republic, and then the Jamaican Pot Still Blonde, which is a lightly aged Worthy Park rum. Now, those 2 rums are blended together for this release and bottled at 42.5% ABV and priced around $25 to $30. Now, both of those 2 separate rums are real good, solid mixing rums, so imagine this is somewhere in between, like basically a light, easy drinking white rum with a touch of Jamaican funk. Next up is the newest release from Porch Jam Distillery out in New Orleans. This is Cheramie Aged Gold. Prior to this release, the other Cheramie release was the Blanc, which is an unaged cane juice rum made from Louisiana-grown sugarcane. The Aged Gold, as you can imagine then, is their aged cane juice offering. The cane juice is distilled first on a pot still, then column distilled and aged a minimum of 2 years in ex-bourbon casks and bottled at 46% ABV. Now, I think the Blanc is a really good cane juice rum, so it'll be interesting to see what their take is on an aged expression. And also, shout out to Louisiana, because it seems like there's quite the concentrated hotbed of American rum distilling happening there right now. I think there's something like 17 different distilleries, and the fact that Louisiana is the largest grower of sugarcane in the country. I think it's definitely worth keeping an eye out on that scene. Next up, we have the latest annual vintage release in Foursquare's Exceptional Cask Selection series, the 2011. Now, the specs on the vintage releases are pretty straightforward stuff. It's molasses-based blend of pot column rums, distilled in this case, obviously in 2011, and then aged 12 years in ex-bourbon casks, and is bottled with no additives at 60% ABV. Now, it's priced at around $120, which is about a $20 to $25 increase from the 2010 release. Now, there's not a whole lot more to say. It's quality stuff from Foursquare. Now, do you need the 2011 if you're still working through a bottle of the 2010? I mean, I don't know. I guess that's kind of like a personal thing maybe, but I am curious to see how many folks there are out there that actually buy each and every release. I mean, I gotta imagine that there's rum nerds out there that are all about that life. On this whole topic of Foursquare and fan loyalty and how much folks really love their Foursquare and they really love Richard Seal and all that, I'd have to imagine, and this is just pure conjecture, that there are more Foursquare rum tattoos out there than any other rum brand tattoo, right? That just feels right, that there'd be more folks that put Foursquare on their body, than any other kind of brand. I mean, maybe Hamden. I think there's a big connection to Hamden as well, but not at the level that there is with Foursquare. But, I could be wrong. I'd love to know if you have a Foursquare tattoo or any rum tattoo for that matter. Let me know in the comments below. Next up is this thing, and it's going to bring all the boys to the yard. Moving on. And lastly, we're going to end on 6 brand new releases from Raising Glasses, an independent bottler, distributor, and importer from Massachusetts. Now, these 6 are part of Raising Glasses' Folklore series, which features single cask rums in 375 milliliter bottles. And frankly, I think 375 bottlings are fantastic. Yeah, you may end up paying more per ounce than if it was a 750, but the overall price is going to be cheaper, meaning you'll be able to buy and try more rums. And honestly, once you've started buying a bunch of bottles, you realize that for most of them, you'll likely never drink through half of each of the bottles, so why not save some money and just buy half a bottle? Now for the Folklore series, each bottling is generally named after and features artwork based on a mythological legend from that country. On top of that, Raising Glasses donates 5% of profits from these rums to charities benefiting each country of origin. Not that you need an excuse to drink, but there you go. First up is the Yowie Strikes Back, which is a molasses-based pot still rum from Pelee Distillery out in Australia. Now it's been aged 12 years in Australia and then 5 years in Europe for a total of 17 years and is bottled at 69.1% ABV. So what's notable about this release is the use of Pombe yeast, which is a strain of indigenous yeast that Pelee used between 2005 and 2010. Now its use creates much more flavor compounds and esters than the more traditional yeast strain that Pelee now uses. Now if you're wondering what a Yowie is, well, it's like an Australian Bigfoot. That is adorable. Now the next release is the Kyrie from Rummy Club Distillery out in Amsterdam. Now there are a couple of notable things about this release. First off, it's the first time rum from Rummy Club has made it to the States. But also it might be the last time, as Rummy Club has announced that they're closing in June. Yeah. And then there's the production. It's made from cane juice from Vietnam. Yeah, the last time I checked, Vietnam isn't anywhere close to Amsterdam. And if you're not familiar, cut sugarcane and cane juice do not travel well and spoil very quickly. Now to get around that, the cane juice was frozen on site and then sent to Amsterdam, where the folks at Rummy Club then fermented and pot distilled it to 61.3% ABV. Now I haven't heard anyone else do something like that. Maybe they have, I don't know, but what I'd love to do is try, two versions of the same rum. One where the cane juice was frozen and the other where it was never frozen, just to kind of see what the differences are. Now Kyrie in the title is the reference to a king of a clan of gnomes who would help Dutch people with their housework at night, which was great until someone had to go shoot and kill King Kyrie. Yeah. Next up is Pelee's Fury. This is a Grand Arome rum made from Le Gallienne Distillery out in Martinique. What's a Grand Arome, you ask? Well, it's an unaged, molasses-based, calm distilled rum specific to Martinique. Now that description by itself doesn't really do it justice. Kind of seems ho-hum, but they're actually big, bold, pungent rums thanks to long and natural fermentations. Now you know that bottle of Denizen's Merchant Reserve you love in your Mai Tai? Well, that has some Le Gallienne Grand Arome in it. So now you can experience that big, bold intensity of that component all by itself at 62.5% ABV. Now the name Pelee's Fury is a reference to Mount Pelee, a volcano in the northern part of Martinique that erupted in 1902, killing about 30,000 people. Yeah, I don't know about you, but nothing about that seems mythological to me. Next up is the King Kai, which is another rare mark from Demerara Distillers in Guyana. This time it's the ELWR mark, which is made on a calm still, and it was aged 17 years in Europe and bottled at 63.6% ABV. Frankly, I couldn't find really any information on the ELWR mark on the internet, so either it's like super, super rare or like I don't know what, like there isn't any information on there. Hey, real quick, it's Arminder from the future, and guess what? I have some good news. One, we're still around, the world is still here for now, and two, I know what ELWR stands for. It's extra light white rum, which now that you know what that is, it's not all that exciting if you think about it, but still, we know a little bit more now, which is great. So that's it. I'll give it back to Arminder from the past. Take it away, bud. Kind of seems like rare marks from Demerara Distillers are coming out of the woodworks like left, right, and center. Not that I'm complaining, but seems like there's a lot of that happening right now. In terms of King Kai, he was the leader of a tribe that was in conflict with a rival tribe. He sacrificed himself by paddling his canoe over a waterfall, and then the Great Spirit Makonima granted lasting peace between the two tribes. Also, when you search for King Kai on the internet, this shows up. Next up is the Muki, which is a molasses-based, calm distilled rum from Ecuador. Now there's no information on which distillery made the rum, but it was aged 2 years in Ecuador and then another 4 years in the EU, and then bottled at 68.9% ABV. In terms of Muki itself, it's a cave goblin that would help miners excavate mines in exchange for alcohol. And if they didn't give him the booze, he'd kill them. I mean, to be fair, a deal's a deal. Next up is Union, a molasses-based, calm distilled rum from Savannah Distillery on Reunion Island. Now it was aged 2 years in Reunion and then another 4 years in Europe and bottled at 61.7% ABV. Now we don't get a whole lot of stuff from Reunion, though last year we did get 2 other Savannah releases from Holmes and I thought both of them were fantastic. And the Union in the title is a reference to a legend where a Hindu, Muslim, and Christian were debating whose hometown river fed the Great Ocean. Now they went on to the top of a mountain to see which of their rivers was the one, and they all realized that all 3 of their rivers emptied into the same ocean. They laughed and stayed friends forever. I mean, it's not quite a booze-hungry murder goblin, but I guess religious harmony will have to do. Well, there you go. Those are the newly released or announced rums from the last month or so. Now, if you're interested in checking out some exclusive behind the scenes content and first impressions video where I try a rum for the very first time and give you my gut reaction to it, then consider checking me out and supporting me on my Patreon page. I have tons of content there that I think you'll really like. Also, do any of these new releases stand out to you? Are you planning on getting any of them? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. Catch you next time. Cheers.